Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Nuscale Power. It is time for another update, and today we continue to track the uptrend that has formed within this small time frame, where we also have an interesting signal internally in this structure, and we will be discussing more about that in a moment. But before that, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new, to provide the full context and basically bring everyone up to date. So here we have been focusing as our main interpretation on this white scenario where we have a double 1-2-1-2 setup, and we would have liked to see a third wave unfold to the upside. Now, is this the only interpretation? No, but this is what I would like to track in the white scenario, in the bullish structure, because this would be the first to get invalidated. This must form an impulse, it must reach a certain level, it would have several indications whether this structure is successful or not, but it would also at the same time be pretty much the first scenario to fail if it doesn't manage to build the actual wave tree. But since we actually failed to hold clearly the area of support for the wave 2 correction, we have started to consider some alternatives, and this is how we have come up with the yellow interpretation, where we consider a more significant top within a wave 1 to have formed here instead at the all-time highs, and we have an initial 5-wave move to the downside. And this is not to say that the white interpretation cannot still work out. In the end, this wasn't even a sustained break. I would consider this scenario still pretty much intact, but it was enough for me to start looking for alternatives, and this is why we have now also in focus the area of support between the $15.3 all the way down to the $3.8 level, where we expect to form a 3-wave correction in a zigzag pattern within this wave 2. And for this, we also have an area of resistance we have been tracking between the $24 level all the way up to the $42.4 level. As long as we don't break the 78.6% retracement, I don't have a full confirmation and signal that this structure has formed a bottom and that we are ready to push in the next wave to the upside. Now, at the same time, if we form another low within this structure, meaning we break below the beginning of this uptrend, it would be a strong signal to me that this white interpretation has fully failed, and I really wouldn't consider it anymore. It could maybe still work out to push higher within other structures, perhaps even within the yellow interpretation in a more direct fashion, where we would get a pretty quick and short wave C. But in the end, not the white scenario. Now, within this area, we may be thinking we have an initial 5-wave move to the downside from the all-time high. How can we even track continuation higher? How can we look for anything other than a continuation in this downtrend within the yellow interpretation? And this actually assumes that we have formed a top within this wave 1 here instead. This assumes that we have an expanded flat correction in an ABC structure, where this would actually form a 3-wave pattern. This is what we have been tracking all along in this orange interpretation, ever since we actually topped within this wave B. And within this idea, we can continue to look for upside. Now, internally in this structure, we have of course been looking for the potential initial 5-wave move to the upside. This wouldn't necessarily be on the same plan with the wave B in yellow, of course, because within the wave B we would expect to form something more like a 3-wave pattern, Now, at the same time, within this structure, within the current levels that we are at, within this area, within this time frame, we are looking still for continued upside within both interpretations, both white and yellow, because even though within the yellow scenario, on the larger scale, we expect to form another low, we prefer to form another extension within the wave C, we didn't get yet to the area of resistance. This only starts at the $24 level, Again, we cannot look for a high probability reversal until we at least get to this area within a 3-wave pattern. Now, what do we expect to form within the white scenario? Well, we would like to see a 5-wave move form to the upside. This is actually a must if it is to form ultimately a wave 3. We could form an ending diagonal, something like that within a different pattern, where we wouldn't need to form the initial 5-wave move to the upside. An ABC structure would be sufficient, but that would also at the same time possibly form a more significant top within this wave B in yellow. But right now, we need to have our focus on what is important, and that is that within both structures we expect another high. This is the likely part of this uptrend. This is the likely structure that is expected to form even within the bearish interpretation. Once again, because we don't have our 3-wave correction and not into the area of resistance. This is highly suggestive that we should highly expect continuation higher, within the wave B in yellow, we expect an ABC structure. Within the white scenario, we expect to build this as a 1, 2, 3, but then we would be looking for a fourth and a fifth. Now for this, we do need to achieve the expectations for wave 3. We need to reach certain levels. Now, I can only provide you these levels assuming we have a bottom within the wave 2, but yeah, sure, we can also look at them already. And yeah, this would mean for the wave 3, we would be looking at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 for an ideal target that is around the $35 level. Now again, this is assuming we have a bottom within the wave 2 and that the third wave has already started. And at the same time, within the wave B, we would be looking for an ideal target at the 100% extension of the wave A. Again, within the yellow interpretation, we have here an A wave instead, but I'm only tracking one of them because it has the same area of support and it is still looking for continuation higher within a 5-wave structure. But within the wave C, we don't really need to get there, and it is more of a suggestion, yeah? It is more of a recommended level to look for because sometimes it even exceeds that. It even goes beyond that 138.2% extension, which is the ideal target for the wave 3. Now, in the case of the wave 3, we must absolutely get there to be able to reliably track an area of support for a wave 4 correction. Otherwise, yeah, I would be rather prepared for a more significant stop to be in place. Who knows, a potential double 1-2-1-2 setup, but I also wouldn't consider that probable. I would be strongly inclined to believe that we have formed instead a top within this wave B. Now, we have the ideal targets, we have the structures that we are tracking to the upside. We know that we can only assume that we have a more significant bottom if we break the 78.6% retracement. We can know that an initial 5-wave move to the upside would be an initial confirmation that this structure would extend higher. We would have an area of support after a 3-wave correction to look for a position for continuation higher. But at the moment, we are looking at the likely part. At the moment, we aren't dealing with unlikely scenarios necessarily. But at the same time, keep in mind, this is quite a small time frame, it is quite a fragile structure, and other interpretations could take hold of this chart, not necessarily the yellow or the white scenarios that could allow a more direct descent lower. But also keep in mind, a break below the $15.5 level would be a strong signal. We shouldn't expect to extend higher, especially within the white interpretation, because sure, we could get an expanded flat in the yellow scenario in this wave B, but a break below the beginning of this structure would pretty much force us to resign the white interpretation. Now, in this structure, we have been focusing since the previous video on this idea of an initial 5-wave move to the upside. We had here a 1, 2, 3, fourth, and a fifth. We have been tracking this wave 4 as a triangle. We were looking for possible extensions higher, but we broke the areas of support. Not a problem, we didn't absolutely need them. We have our initial impulse to the upside, and we have been looking for a wave 2 correction into the levels between the $18.7 all the way down to the $15.5, where as long as we hold the 78.6% retracement, we look with high probabilities for continuation within, at the very least, another 5-wave move to the upside. Now, so far, we have gotten into the area of support. We have done so within a 3-wave pattern initially. Yeah, we can track this as a 3-wave pattern. I don't see this as an issue. But we then got even an extension lower, but only a slightly lower, yeah, again, only into the first level of support. Now, we were already looking for a possible larger extension lower in the previous video where we were considering this to be a possible wave B top. We extended a bit higher within the wave B, not a problem, but now I would already be prepared to have a more significant bottom within this wave 2 in white. We haven't necessarily broken the area of resistance we were tracking. We can actually slightly extend it now, so it goes still pretty much all the way up to the same level at the $21.4, and a break above this level would signal that a more significant bottom would likely be in place. Now, what is promising, what is the signal I was mentioning in the beginning of the video, is this initial structure to the upside that could actually be considered an initial 5-wave move. Now, is this the most reliable one? Clearly not. This is within the 15-minute time frame. This is nanostructures. We shouldn't necessarily be looking for a trade setup within this area, but it could be an early indication that this structure would be looking to continue higher within this larger wave 3 in white or the larger wave C in yellow. And for this, we can track even an area of support, although I want to stress this once again, this is not to be used as a trade setup. This is going to be more of an indication for continuation higher, while at the same time, a break below the $19 level at the 78.6% retracement, an indication for a larger correction, a large extension within, possibly this wave C in green. At the same time, I do want to mention within this push to the upside. We did get to a nice level. We have retraced quite high, where I wouldn't consider this as a 1-2 setup, even as an option, yeah? I would be strongly prepared to have a bottom in place if we are to look for the internal resistances within this area, but at the same time, again, small time frame, be aware, we are just looking at this as a signal that this structure may have formed a more significant bottom and that we should be looking for the next wave to the upside. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.